Greetings, YouTube. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Dave DY Show. I've got a quick show today, and it's one subject: sports. Well, it's one subject around sports. The Palm Beach County and the Jupiter Police and the federal government, the FBI, have been running a sting operation for multiple years here in Palm Beach County. I live in Palm Beach Gardens. I'm marginally inland, about a mile from Jupiter Beach, from Juno Beach, from the Jupiter Inlet, from the US 1 beach environment, but I'm probably 3 miles away from downtown Jupiter, and I'm probably 3 miles away from Harborside, which, if you don't know Florida, you have coastal beaches that are directly on the Atlantic, and then you have inlets or tributaries, because Florida was completely a swamp. When they filled that swamp in, they constructed properties or land masses that then had drainage inlets or pieces of inland stream that ultimately empty into the ocean, but are all interconnected. And all of Florida, especially in the coastal regions, when you go from Jacksonville all the way down to Miami Beach, the first 5 or 10 miles off of the coast, the Atlantic, and then off the coast inland, has these tributaries. The beach towns have been built up around them, the communities have been built up around them, and when you move to affluent cities, Fort Lauderdale, affluent parts, Boca Raton, affluent parts, Deerfield, affluent parts, Jupiter, affluent parts, Vero Beach, affluents, Tequesta, Stewart, upwards, all the way up to Daytona Beach, into Jacksonville. Orlando is more central Florida. The peninsula, and Orlando's in the center. And in the center, Orlando with Disney World. But everything I talked about, if the map is this way with the boot of Florida, the entire Atlantic is riddled with these inlets of water. And these inlets have pockets of affluence, because there's a ton of retirement money here from New York primarily, or Massachusetts, New England, Boston. And for decades now, the northern money has retired and also timeshares or vacations or splits some of the cold winter down here in Florida, in what we call southern Florida. Southern Florida starts at Vero Beach and goes downward, because Vero Beach is actually the subtropic line. Once you pass Vero, you're in a subtropic zone on the planet. It cuts across the entire globe, and what that means is it's always warm. It never snows. It's tropical weather that then experiences those patterns, right? And that's the line that crosses the peninsula of Florida, which when you go below, you just have beautiful weather all the time. And the further south you go, the hotter it gets, the more tropical it turns into. So there are these pockets, there are these tributaries, and these tributaries have waterways, and the waterways break up all of the landmass, and you have very affluent neighborhoods in those waterways. And then when you move to the coast, there are actual islands. There's Palm Beach Island, there's Jupiter Island. Those islands, which are immediately adjacent to the ocean, they have super affluence. You have, multi-million dollar homes. You have the lifestyles of the rich and famous. You have the who's who. On these tributaries, you have individuals that are well off from the north and then from all over the country who have money. And so you might run into a rock star, or you might run into a movie star that's got a $1 or $2 or $3 million or an $8 million home on these tributaries. In this location, down on US 1 and Indiantown Road, Indiantown Road is the main road that cuts through Jupiter toward the coast. It is one of the main arteries. And if you've ever been to Florida, a main artery is super critical because it's built beach town like. It's semi-suburban. It's not city structured. This peninsula is not constructed that way. It never was. Some of the cities, like Miami, are a little more like that on a grid system or with multiple streets, but most of them are not. You usually have one or two main arteries that crisscross in a grid, and then you've got tons and tons of smaller side streets. And as you go inland, those streets become gravel. They become unincorporated, where you potentially have septic systems. They have legacy or older style utilities. Well, down here, as I said, about 3 miles, you have that US 1, which is, if you think of US 1 goes all along the coast of the United States, from the tip of Florida, Miami, all the way up to Massachusetts, right? In some way, shape, or form. It's a lengthy road that goes right along the Atlantic Ocean. And it's pretty legendary and well known for that. And therefore, in Jupiter, which has quite a bit of money, there is that main artery, which crosses Indiantown Road. And because of the affluence, has some pretty popular areas there. Tiger Woods, there's an area called Harborside, which is off of the ocean, but on the inlet, right quarter mile from the ocean. And it's called Harborside, and there are some top-tier restaurants and shopping centers there. Tiger Woods has his restaurant that he's opened in the last 8 or 10 years called Woods, the Woods. And he spends his time there with his house out on Jupiter Island. And if you haven't seen it, YouTube it, Google it, giant house. He bought 3 adjacent lots. It's got golf holes that he can hit out of his back door onto, full golf holes, 200-300-yard golf holes. He's got his yacht parked out back. It's a multi-million-dollar yacht that he took up to the U.S. Open this past year, up in Massachusetts, in New York. It was in Manhattan or whatever the golf course was. I can't remember. Shinnecock, I don't know, whatever, Shinnecock Hills. Whatever. He took the yacht up with his full staff, captain and all that jazz, right up the coast, parked it out there, played his golf, went back, right? What a lifestyle, tough, huh? But it's a very nice area. And so it's got a lot of high-end sales, a lot of high-end services, a lot of high-end food and entertainment establishments. Well, the federal government, as I said, and local governments have been working together for multiple years now on sex trafficking sting operations in this area. They call it Fort Lauderdale. It's confusing. Fort Lauderdale is south. We are Palm Beach. And Palm Beach is broken up into West Palm, North Palm, South Palm. And it's a pretty big swath down here in South Florida. It's one of the larger districts, possibly behind Miami-Dade, Broward, and Orlando, or in tune with Orlando. Hundreds of thousands of people in this county, big county, even though it still has a beachy feel. And the federal government with local government have investigated and troubleshot and secretly taped upwards of 10 establishments that have been reported to and now known to and recorded performing illicit acts for money with trafficked or untrafficked individuals. What's all that crap mean? There's a bunch of massage parlors down here that a gal has been running primarily. They are primarily Asian. And over the course of a number of years, there's been a sting running where the FBI has been filming all the Johns going in. They've busted hundreds of individuals. Hundreds they have on tape for single or multiple visits. This sting operation was announced recently because this is a massive endeavor of resources, of planning, of man hours, of legal implications, warrants, all the facets that come with a deep undercover investigation, and the parties that own the portions of that, that do the monitoring, that set up the gear, interface with the clients, the individuals where they're going to perform all this crap. So, they've recorded a number of individuals, hundreds of individuals going in and paying for sex in these these Asian salons. One of the high-ticket individuals that has been released in the statement of those being filmed and potentially being indicted or being charged with, charged with a misdemeanor solicitation, is the famed New England Patriots coach. The New England Patriots coach who just won the fucking Super Bowl, Robert Kraft. He walked into a parlor down here. The parlor's name is... the parlor's name is the Asia Moon Parlor. What is it? An illicit massage parlor in a strip mall. I kid you not. It's in a strip mall. And if you've been to Florida, there's store after store. It's very similar to any of the... they're very typical of warm weather strip malls. One of them is the Asia Moon Parlor. And they filmed him twice walking into this parlor and paying for illicit sex. I don't know if you just heard what I said. Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, $6 billion bank account, multiple world champion, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, legendary team. He pursued Belichick from New York or wherever he was, the Jets. He pursued Brady. He formulated this team. He was engaged with the coaching, with the management. In 1984, I think he was a season ticket holder. He was in packaging or something up in New England. He was a season ticket holder. He had some type of minority interest in the team at the old stadium, the old whatever Gillette Stadium was, and he then pursued a hostile or a dominant takeover of this team with loans or what have you, and then Belichick and Brady, and the rest is history, right? I mean, this guy's the shit. This guy is a sports legendary business icon, in tune with anybody else. We saw the shots of him in the owner's booth, in the owner's box, screaming and high-fiving with the who's who on the globe, right? Movie stars, politicians, sports icons, whatever. Government officials from other countries. I mean, this guy's the who's who. And he got busted on film multiple times walking in the Orchids of Asia day spa in a fucking strip mall across from Harborside, where you have these high-end shops, including Tiger Woods restaurant. He's got a house down here. He's probably got houses in many places around the globe. His lawyers have stated, look, no comment. They went dark. Kraft goes and sees Trump. He's a Democrat. He goes and sees Trump at Mar-a-Lago. They hang out. They golf together. His wife died in 2011, I think. Myra Hyatt Kraft, right? So he married with notoriety. He's got a 39-year-old girlfriend, actress Ricky Noel Lander, since 2012. His wife died in 2011. He's got a girlfriend. She's an attractive 39-year-old. And he's out balling. He's 77 now? Is he 77? How old is he? 77. Driving his Bentley, his, Silver Ghost, Rolls Royce, whatever, into the day spa parking lot. Oh, he's probably not driving. He's probably got a driver. For a hot Asian piece of ass. And the question comes up. I'm not surprised at all about this. But the question always comes up in multiple levels in all these circles. Are you shitting me? A dude like that visits a spa? A strip mall spa for a piece of ass? It's awesome! The oldest profession on the planet, prostitution. There's no one that's above it. And it's a choice. Whether or not you frequent that. Whether or not you're happy in your relationship, your emotional, your social, your physical relationship with whomever you're in. And to tell you the truth, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're open and you're honest. I think that actually, and I think Amsterdam has it correct, for healthy males who don't want to be tied down to a relationship, or females should be allowed to have prostitution, gigolos. It should be legal. It's silly that it's not. It's silly that this guy, your first offense down here in Florida can potentially warrant 100 hours of community service and a fine. And then public blasphemy. Public shame with your scarlet letter that says you paid for some small Asian woman to service you. Dude, when they rolled into the field and they were like, Robert Kraft, you just won the Super Bowl, your 18th season or whatever, your 25th season as owner, and you've won it 7 times, whatever. What are you going to do? He didn't say he's going to Disneyland. He said, I'm going to the Orcas Day Spa to get some Asian ass. Woo! What? Awesome. Dude, people are people, and your title and your position and your money and your power and the shit you own so that you look like what you look means nothing. Can never judge a book by its cover. You got to know a person. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know Robert Kraft. I bet he's shrewd. I bet he's specific. I bet he knows what he wants. I don't know what he tells Ricky Noel Lander Thompson Smith Johnson, 39-year-old gold digger. And that's not fair to say that. Maybe she really loves Robert Kraft as a 39-year-old model actress. What a story. I saw the initial news break yesterday or the day before on the local news. Sting operation. Hundreds of Johns potentially filmed and charges pending. And they said something to the effect either yesterday or the day before. I don't think it was part of the initial report. Major figures implicated. I was like, So they sort of leaked that there was some notoriety. There were some, important figures. And down here, there's a lot of people that roll around in expensive cars with big-ass houses and giant watches, awesome clothes, great hairstyles, lots of, good-looking colognes and cigars and rolling like they roll. I would have never thought Robert Kraft was going to be one of those guys. And it's so fun, and it's so humorous, and it's so tragic. Because I think a number of these girls are part of a sex trafficking sting, where meaning they come through the port of Miami, they come on board a ship, they come in through the Miami airport, flown, whatever, from the Far East, primarily from somewhere in Asia, China, Thailand, Vietnam, whatever, and they're here and they're prisoners, they are slaves. They don't speak the language. They're held against their will. They perform these acts. They provide the money. and they're given adequate living conditions. And it's not unusual, and it's become quite popular. And this guy just got busted in a sting about it, which is why the FBI took an interest, and they've caught some. There were 10 locations that were doing this, from somewhere here in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, all the way up to Orlando. So this is bad. It's endemic. It's terrible. And Robert Kraft got busted for the prostitution. Much like drugs, I don't know why we don't make prostitution legal. Is it a base human act? It is. Does it occur all the time? It does. Fundamentally, like defecating or urinating, every person does it. Some people manually stimulate themselves. Some people utilizing themselves or toys, now sex robots. Some people interact and have intercourse with females, with males. Some folks do it with animals. Bestiality. None of this is new. It's been around from the beginning of time, yet we still mismanage it. It's hidden, it's secret. Because of all those things, you have this dark underbelly, and it's bad. When in fact, if you managed it properly, you put people into doctor's visits, individuals made money, it was taxed, it was properly addressed. It is what it is. And we've got this ridiculous moral or ethical belief that sex between individuals should be agreed upon, enjoyed. We have this fake world, partnerships, right? It's all individually dependent, and it comes in every way, shape, or form. You have BDSM, you have people that like sadomasochism, that like 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, what happens when 50 Shades of Grey turns into sex abuse, turns into sex trafficking and sex slaves? That's not very interesting. Well, it's a couple shades of gray from that. And yet it's glorified, and you've got all this silliness around it, right? This fantasy. When in truth, what is it? I just watched now deceased Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac was on Def Comedy Jam in 1993 with a rainbow shirt and a pair of jeans that had his face on them. Martin Lawrence introduced him, and if you haven't watched that in a long time or you never saw it, go back. Bernie Mac, Def Comedy Jam, New York City, 1993. Martin Lawrence introduces him, and he goes for 10 minutes, and it crushes. That comedy today still is spot awesome. Time immemorial. You will watch that shit, and you will piss yourself. If you don't, I want to meet you because I want to figure out how you're wired. It is epic. A piece of it is, sex is just 50 pumps. That's it, 50 pumps and you're done. And he sort of states that. And he goes, you don't believe me? Count them. He tells the audience to count them. Dude, every person has an experience with this, and we still mismanage this, and we don't deal with it. And Robert Kraft just walked in and paid for sex. A billionaire. Probably because in his inner workings down here, he has other people in his circles that attend the Orchid Day Spa and request the same service. And the service was clean, respectable, enjoyable, affordable, quick. In and out. And there's perverse pieces to that, and there's destructive pieces to that, and there's sad pieces to that about these women's lives. And there's humorous pieces to that. Pieces of life, of men. The pieces that women, you have a whole spectrum of response to, right? And I won't get into that, but I wanted to bring this up because of how strikingly strange our lives are. And sure as shit, he's going to have to manage this. I'm sure money and power give you a different edge on how to deal with this. And I don't know if this will quickly disappear from publicity. Much like Tiger Woods or other people, when they call their legal team, can easily quash and smash the powers that be that purportedly openly report on these topics, right? The statement by an individual, Jupiter Police Chief Daniel Kerr, We are equally stunned as everyone else. I'm not. And you know what? That kind of statement is stupid. Because, Chief Daniel, I think that you have sex daily, weekly, monthly, annually, whatever. And I think you can understand Robert Kraft. And who are we to judge Robert Kraft and his 39-year-old girlfriend who probably lives in Hollywood, maybe, or hangs out with him on occasion. He's a very busy man with multiple businesses, tons of engagements, powerful friends. Who knows, right? So it was strange to hear this. It was strange to see this unfold. And it provoked a lot of the questions and thoughts that I often have. I categorically don't pursue paid for sex. Never have. I've gone to Amsterdam. I've walked through the red light district. It's extraordinarily interesting if you've never gone to a place of legal prostitution. I grew up living across the border from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Across the border were legal prostitutions. There were strip clubs and dancing and massage parlors. Legal, not legal. The Canadian government really didn't prosecute as to what was being performed. It was a known in high school and as young men that you could go across to Canada to a massage parlor for an act for $20, $50 Canadian, which at the time was a pretty weak dollar compared to the US dollar. It was a bargain. You'd pick up a case of Labatt's and go to the parlor. That's what my friends, my brothers, whomever did. That's how it happened. I've never found that of interest, but to pursue. But it happens everywhere. It's a known in Las Vegas, in Atlantic City, wherever you go, around the globe. And I don't know why there's such a stigma to it. We stigmatize the illicit payment of sex, yet sex is integrated. It's piecemeal. It's a function of every aspect of our life. Modeling, fashion, television, media, everything. Stop a moment and think about the impact of that specific area and how it's sexually wrapped up. If the TV hosts are attractive, Fox News. If the advertisements have a supermodel to sell Doritos, right? Or beer, If individuals put makeup on. This has been a topic through history, which is why, much like yesterday's webcast, my podcast, sex is front and center, and we've held it as such. And on some regards, I don't know why. It's a human act that everyone performs at one time or another in their lives. Why is it so super critical to us? So important. I think portions of that is, it's a fundamental instinct that comes from deep within us for procreation, for our survival. We're animals, and it's an act that's in the base DNA of what we are made of. It's hard to disregard that and retrain ourselves. And have transgender and sex changes and all this crazy shit that's going on, which really convolutes the fundamental discussion. But I just wanted to talk about this topic. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was funny. I thought it was somewhat shocking, but good for us. Good for us that the frickin' icon, the elite guy, the god, the sports god, the business god, he's just like you and me. He just rolled up in the Bentley and hooked up at the day spa. Son of a bitch. So I want to track this and see how it goes and see what the NFL says and see what the media says and see what the world says, the other owners, the other sports individuals, all your commentary that goes around it, all of your giant sports icons, your important, individuals that spread news on it. I mean, and I wonder if it only shows up as a hiccup. Like when Marv Albert was biting the back of the prostitute in Washington, D.C. or wherever when he was charged, right? And that sort of went away because he was soliciting someone who pressed charges on him for aggressive sex, blah, blah. Like, this is new. And then it doesn't bleed over into child molestation with my man Sandusky, right? All the ugliness. This guy, he's just hanging out with the chick at the Asian spa. And then all the ugliness underneath it, right? Ooh, the dirty underbelly of the perfect people at the top. These wonderful icons, they're just us. They're just us with more money and a more successful business. End of story. No better, no worse. And that's sort of how I take the approach. You know, with this materialism, this power, this prestige. Who the fuck are you? You're just a guy that made some good decisions and owns football. You know, he owns a football team. Give a fuck if you're a billionaire or penniless. You are who you are. Whatever, dude. I don't have to respect you any more or any less. I'll tell you this. You're pretty good at football. You're pretty good at business with that stuff. That you gotta respect. As a human or as a person, I don't know yet. I don't know. You got strike one against you here. But yeah, funny and enjoyable, and I wanted to talk on this topic because it caught me off guard. So, what are your thoughts about it? Give me your comments, your likes, your subscribes, or whatnot. I'm going to stick this out there, and I want to see what other folks' thoughts or responses are. Interesting, and I'm sure it's going to wash through the sports waves in the next few days here. It already has, I suspect. I've seen it on top shows. But I don't know if it'll quickly disappear. Right? Oh, quiet. He just won the fucking Super Bowl and set epic records. Don't deface this man. He's a kind. He's an honorable. He's a whatever. He's picking up hookers at the Orchid Day Spa. Dave DeWine Show. Out.